Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel, and today I came across a YouTube short featuring Ken Rosenthal on foul territory, and he said something very interesting about how basically center fielders get no love from the Hall of Fame.
Center fielders in general have not done well in recent years. I go to Jim Edmonds. He is a guy that really got short shrift. Bernie Williams, some would argue, deserves more of a look. Kenny Lofton. For whatever reason, we have not done a great job with center fielders.
It's not something I ever thought of specifically, but when I started looking at some of my biggest snubs, it's absolutely incredible how many elite center fielders have gotten completely snubbed when their stats and overall careers are several times better than many players from other positions who have gotten in. Comparing players who play the same position is a natural thing to do, but I think the voters take it way too far. Apparently, if you play center field, you have to measure up to Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays or maybe Ken Griffey Jr. to even sniff the Hall. If we look at the JAWS ranking for center fielders, which measures a player's Hall of Fame worthiness, you only have to get to the 9th spot to find the first player who is eligible for the Hall who's not in, and it's Carlos Beltran, who got just 57.1% of the vote in his second year on the ballot. But knowing the voters, who are clearly perfect and have never made a mistake in their entire lives, many of them did not vote for Beltran because of his connection to the Astros sign-stealing scandal, even though he wasn't technically punished by MLB because he was a player at the time. But for the sake of argument, we'll say that's why he's not in, because there's really no other explanation for a Rookie of the Year, 9-time All-Star, and 3-time Gold Glover with 2,725 hits and 435 bombs to not get in. But then at number 10 is another center fielder who had no controversies as far as I know when he got an absolutely inexplicable 3.2% of the vote in 2013, falling off the ballot. And I'm talking about Kenny Lofton. Now, he has had a few problems since then, but I digress. How in the actual does the 10th best center fielder of all time on the JAWS list not even get enough votes to stay on the ballot? Kenny Lofton had over 2,400 hits, 6 All-Star selections, 4 Gold Gloves, and led the league for 5 consecutive seasons in stolen bases. He had a career .372 on-base percentage and got 3.2% of the vote. Admittedly, it was a stacked ballot that year, but guess what? The ballot wouldn't have been so stacked if the voters actually elected obvious Hall of Famers like Fred McGriff and Tim Raines in their first or maybe second year on the ballot, instead of making them appear year after year after year, clogging up the ballot. But back to the JAWS list. We see after Kenny Lofton is, for me, the current ultimate Hall of Fame snub, one of the best players of his generation, Andruw Jones, the 10-time Gold Glover who could be relied upon to smash at least 30 home runs per season for a decade. He hit 434 home runs and won 10 Gold Gloves. That's the only argument I need. The only center fielder with more Gold Gloves is Willie Mays. And Jones did it clean, but they don't want to vote for the ones who didn't. They don't want to vote for Bonds. They don't want to vote for Clemens because they did steroids. But if you were clean and you hit 434 homers and had 10 Gold Gloves, then you still don't get in because you just didn't put up the numbers apparently. Then there's 3 Hall of Famers who come up next on the JAWS list. We have Richie Ashburn, Andre Dawson, and Billy Hamilton. Billy Hamilton played back in the 1800s. He was an absolute machine for his time. I won't even compare him. Then you have Richie Ashburn. He got in by the Veterans Committee, which is what will probably have to happen to Andruw Jones and other players who are now trying to get in. Then there's the Hawk, Andre Dawson, a no-brainer Hall of Famer as well. However, even for him, it took the voters until his 9th year on the ballot. This is a Rookie of the Year winner, 1987 MVP. He's got 8 Gold Gloves, 4 Silver Sluggers, over 2,700 hits, 438 home runs, and it took him 9 years to get in. So when it takes so many years to get someone in, they keep appearing on the ballot, taking votes away, and remember, you only get to put 10 names on the ballot. So there's a limit, but that's a big reason why players fall off and why players don't get more Hall of Fame support. But after those three, there's more snubs, such as Jim Edmonds, another defensive wizard who could also hit for power. He had 8 Gold Gloves, 393 bombs, a 284 average, 376 on base, and a career OPS over 900. Of the top 30 center fielders on the Jaws list, less than half are in the Hall of Fame. And of course, one of them, Mike Trout, is still active. He'll obviously get in on the first ballot because he has that Hall of Fame name that pops, and voters don't do any research other than just glancing at the name. But I'm pretty sure Mike Trout will get in on his first year on the ballot. Alternatively, if we look at the Jaws list for second baseman, 18 of the first 30 are in, even though clearly the list of center fielders seems stronger. Don't get me wrong, there's a few snubs at second base as well, like Jeff Kent and Bobby Grich. But when you look at the list for shortstops, you're almost guaranteed to get in. 21 of the top 30 are already in the Hall of Fame, and we already know why A-Rod hasn't been elected. And there's really no snubs on this list of shortstops other than a few guys from the very early days of baseball. Even Phil Rizzuto got in, and he had just 1,588 hits and 38 career home runs. I loved him as a broadcaster, and he was definitely a tough player who helped the Yankees win a lot of games, but I don't know about Hall of Fame worthy. But at the end of the day, you can be a defensive-only player at shortstop and get in, even on your first ballot like Ozzie Smith. But as a center fielder, apparently you have to be an absolute monster, comparable to Mickey Mantle or Willie Mays to even have a chance, at least with the writers. Someone like Torrey Hunter has absolutely zero chance, and he almost got knocked off the ballot this year despite 9 Gold Gloves and 353 home runs. But let me know what y'all think about the struggles center fielders seem to have getting any traction towards Hall of Fame induction. Why is defense not appreciated in center field as much as it seems to be at shortstop? How can players like Bill Mazeroski or Ozzie Smith get in purely for defense, while players like Andruw Jones, Carlos Beltran, Kenny Lofton, Jim Edmonds, Torrey Hunter, etc. can't, even though they can get it done both defensively and offensively? Obviously, the current system for Hall of Fame voting is completely ineffective and out of date. Many of the writers don't even focus primarily on baseball like they used to back in the 30s when this system was set up. Furthermore, the writers have direct relationships with the players, and this creates a conflict of interest. More likable players are going to be cut a break when it comes to things like PED connections. Oh yeah, Big Papi, there was that one test. That test was a bunch of BS. But Bonds and Clemens, no, they stay out. So the likable players get cut a break while the unlikable ones are kept out. The voters also get to decide when to keep players out for any off-the-field accusations or controversies, despite the hall already being full of people of questionable character from the early days of the game. But just the fact that someone as great as Kenny Lofton fell off the ballot in his first year is all the proof I need. There may be no such thing as a perfect system, but the one we got now is absolute garbage. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you in the next video.